We'll get started. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. This is our second official community meeting for rezoning petition 2024-077. My name is Nolan Groce. I'm with Urban Design Partners, representing the Drox Group LLC on Sandy Porter Townhomes. Joining us this evening on the petitioning team are Graham with the Drox Group and Mike Fess with Montrose Development. This petition proposes to rezone the property from N1A, that's neighborhood 1A, to neighborhood 2A CD, which is conditional. And this is a proposed townhome development. Okay, during the presentation, please use the chat feature to ask any questions that you might have. At the end of the presentation, we will answer any questions in the chat box and then open the floor for attendees to come off mute and provide additional feedback. Since we have a smaller group this evening, feel free to go ahead at the end of the presentation, unmute, ask any questions that you might have. Here's an aerial of our rezoning area. The properties are located west of I-485, south of Brown Greer and Arrowwood Roads, and east of Sandy Porter Road. Here's another aerial of our 15.87 acre site. You can see the bottom corner of the Top Golf across I-485, the Whitehall Corporate Center to the northeast, the Steel Chase subdivision to the south, the 12 Oaks community is to our west, and Cortland Whitehall Apartments are to the northwest of the site. So what are we doing here this evening? What is zoning? What is a rezoning or a zoning map amendment? Zoning is the city's method of classifying land by usage. It promotes development in a smart, reliable fashion. The chart on your screen shows current zoning districts under the City of Charlotte Unified Development Ordinance, from least intensive place type, neighborhood 1A, all the way up to the most intensive place types, TODs, or transit-oriented developments. In North Carolina, there are two types of rezoning petitions, what is known as a conventional petition and a conditional petition. We are requesting a conditional district rezoning, which allows the use of the property and prescribed conditions under the Neighborhood 2 zoning district, along with additional conditions, so commitments above and beyond what is required by the Unified Development Ordinance. A few additional important planning items, the first being the Charlotte 2040 Comprehensive Plan. The 2040 Plan is a living policy document, providing framework to help guide decision-making and investment in the near and long term. The City of Charlotte Unified Development Ordinance. The UDO simplified and consolidated planning and development regulations into a unified document, aligned with the vision of the 2040 Plan. And there's also the 2040 Policy Map. This is a future land use map identifying uses that are most suitable for future development. Here's a current zoning map for the city of Charlotte. Again, the site is currently zoned N1A. You can see ANDO in the parentheses behind that in most of these districts. This is the Airport Noise Disclosure Overlay District. On the map, you can see other districts in the area, including some legacy zoning districts from the previous zoning ordinance, such as R3, R4, UR2, some business districts, B1 and B2, as well as an office district. And across the street is N1A as well, and it is just outside of the Airport Noise Disclosure Overlay District. Here is the Charlotte Future 2040 policy map. The site is identified as Neighborhood 1, immediately abutting a community activity center to the northeast. In the area, you can also see Neighborhood 2 across the street, as well as a campus place type and parks and preserves. So the site is identified as Neighborhood 1 on the policy map. However, the policy manual actually supports a Neighborhood 2 place type here, identifying Neighborhood 2 as an appropriate transition abutting the Community Activity Center place type. In the first graphic, you can see when a zoning transition is needed beside each place type. According to this, a transition is needed when a community activity center abuts neighborhood 1. The second image helps show criteria for zoning map amendments or rezonings. Our site is over 5 acres, abuts preferred place types, the community activity center and neighborhood 1. It's within half a mile of I-485, which is a major transportation corridor. And these are also considered remnant parcels fronting an arterial road. So there are numerous considerations to account for when site planning, things that go into creating a conditional rezoning site plan. The first being existing site conditions, such as topography, existing foliage, where is infrastructure in the area. As we've already discussed, the City of Charlotte Unified Development Ordinance, so the development regulations that are applicable to the requested zoning district. Community input, like we're doing this evening, hosting an additional community meeting. The 2040 plan and policy map. Existing entitlements, so what's being developed in the area, what trends do we see? Pedestrian safety, walkability and connectivity. Vehicular traffic patterns, looking at where we should locate internal and external driveways, as well as green space and natural areas. So where will these be located? How much will be provided? Will amenities be provided on site? So here's our current rezoning site plan for rezoning petition 2024-077. Going to jump ahead. We have a rendered version of this site plan, which is a little bit easier to look at. So on our rendered site plan on this petition, we're proposing up to 194 townhome dwelling units across the 15.87 acre site. Access to the site is via 2 driveway connections to Sandy Porter Road. So in coordination with CDOT and NCDOT, we are committed to the installation of a left turn lane at the southern entrance, which is Plan East. And we will also be extending the existing concrete median beyond the proposed northern or Plan West driveway. This will cause the northern, or on your screen, the western driveway to operate under a right in, right out condition. We will also be providing an 8-foot planting strip and 12-foot shared use path along the Sandy Porter frontage. Internal public streets will be built to a local residential wide standard, including an 8-foot sidewalks on both sides of the road, on both sides of the right of way. This section also allows parking on both sides of the road. Loaded driveways, so there will not be any driveway cuts on. Graham, Mike, Javier, can you still hear me?
You just came
you
back.
cut out. Yeah, exactly.
You were.
And we're not hearing you right
No.
now either, Nolan.
Can you hear me? I just got a warning
You're cutting in and out.
about my volume not working. Can you hear me?
We hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I had some technical difficulty. Sorry about that. Sure. My connection is still on. Okay, so I'll pick up where I left off. Let me see. Apologies about that. Technology is great when it works well, but it can be frustrating. So our internal streets will be providing 8-foot sidewalks as well as an 8-foot planting strip on both sides of the proposed public roads, as well as visitor parking or on-street parking on both sides of the sections. We will not. Okay, sorry about that. We're also proposing a public road stub to the adjacent community activity center. This is for a future connection should this site be redeveloped. Green area or tree save is located along the exterior of the site, predominantly along the southern or the Plan East portion of the site, ensuring sufficient buffers are provided to the neighboring developments. A Type C landscape yard will also be provided on the southern side of the site. Each unit will front on open space or a public street. Units fronting open space will have a pedestrian connection from their frontage to the right-of-way to promote walkability and connectivity within the neighborhood. A communal amenity area has also been identified on the western or northern edge of the site. This proposed amenity area is approximately 38,000 square feet, so just under an acre. So here's an amenity area image board showing what could be located in that proposed amenity area. We have things like seating areas, fire pits, a pool and a clubhouse, cabanas, a community lawn and gardens. We also have conceptual building elevations for your review this evening. This is a rear-loaded product that shows a variety of architectural features that may be used, such as roof pitches, different building material elements, window coverings, things of that nature. These will be up to 3-bedroom units with 1 to 2 car garages, in addition to the minimum 20-foot driveway that's being provided for each unit. So here's a tentative timeline of our petition, rezoning petition 2024-077. This evening, September 18th, we're hosting our second community meeting. We had our initial meeting on July 17th of this year. We're projected to go to a public hearing before City Council and the Zoning Committee on October 21st. We would then go before the Zoning Committee to receive a recommendation on November 5th, followed by a potential City Council decision on November 18th. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and check the chat box. Again, I apologize for the technical difficulties. If there's anything, any slide that may have cut out, please let me know and I will go back to that. Here's my contact information as well. We are recording this meeting and this presentation. We will post that online at our website at urbandesignpartners.com. Go back to our rendered site plan and I see my chat box is going off. So give me one moment to pull that up. Okay, Sonny's asked several questions. So this boundary is updated, including the two additional parcels, Sonny. Originally, we did not have these Plan East or Southern parcels included in the petition, but they have been added, increasing our acreage. Let's see. How will the development address existing drainage issues in the area, especially near the back southeastern area of the site? Yeah, so part of what we've done in redesigning the site was study existing drainage patterns, study grading. We've done preliminary grading analysis. We've looked at the way water will flow and determined the best location for the proposed stormwater control measure, which is at the front of the site. So ensuring this is sized and located appropriately, that we can catch all of that existing flow. Environmental impact assessment. So I would need to know exactly what you're looking for with an environmental impact assessment. That's not something that is, as a generic term, required as part of the rezoning petition. Hydrological studies. So we've had some geotechnical, some borings on the site, ensuring that the pond is located appropriately and that it can be located there. Eventually, we'll have to look at seasonal high water tables. What stormwater management systems will be put in place to prevent water from pooling in adjacent backyards of the existing neighborhood? Yeah, so all of the water on site will have to flow to our proposed stormwater control measure. We can't create a scenario where water is going off site. It has to be as if it was basically undeveloped today. We have to mitigate for that. Let's see, Jonathan says, compared to July, we are adding 50 units and moving from 2 to 3 floor townhomes. Has density and road studies been looked at for possible impacts on traffic and schools? So yes, CDOT has provided comments on this rezoning petition, looking at ways we can mitigate the impact. We will have to meet some multimodal mitigation impact points. Those are predominantly related to pedestrian impacts, some walkability. We'll also be providing, again, 12-foot shared use path along the frontage and 8-foot sidewalks internally. Schools, we did receive a report from CMS with our initial petition. We're waiting on the updated report based on the proposed increase in students. The previous report showed that there is capacity within the existing system to support this. And then again, potential roadway impacts. We are committed to providing a left turn lane into the site at this plan eastern entrance. And at the plan western entrance, there's an existing concrete median that we will be extending past the proposed driveway to make this a right in, right out movement. So you would not be able to make a left turn out of the site at the northern entrance. How will new construction ensure water runoff, lost it, does not flow on into neighboring properties, especially the back southeast areas? So we were made aware that this back area does have some ponding today, and that may be because of this stormwater pond at our abutting parcel at the Community Activity Center. It may be outfalling to this area. But again, we will have to provide detailed plans ensuring that we're meeting the city's stormwater ordinance and keeping all of our water on site, both during and after construction. Will the developer provide regular maintenance for stormwater systems? Yes, that is part of stormwater control measures. They have to be well maintained and meet city standards. And that's, if so, for how long? That is for the life system, the life cycle of the control measure. A detailed grading plan to show how the land will slope and where the water will drain. Will the grading of the new development be designed to direct any water away from existing low-lying adjacent properties? So we'll have to grade the site so that water will flow to the front. This is the natural low area on site, which helps that water flow to the frontage. But we'll have to ensure that water is not flowing from the, for example, if you can see my mouse, from this corner onto the adjacent properties. And keeping this area natural with tree save, we're actually higher at the property lines in some of these adjacent parcels, so water will naturally flow off of them into this green area onto our site as opposed to off site. As part of the traffic plans, has there been any recommendation about adding traffic lights or widening Sandy Porter Road? So correct, as part of this petition, we will have to widen Sandy Porter Road. It is not shown on this plan, but let me back up. I know it's a little small. You can see our shared use path and an 8-foot planting strip, but we're relocating we have to relocate curb to what's known as the future back of curb, which is 30 feet from the center line. So yes, the road will be widened with a left turn lane into this entrance. Any recommendations about adding traffic lights? So we have not received comments from CDOT or NCDOT about a traffic light in this area. CDOT would have to perform several warrant analysis for that. If there's enough trips to cause that potentially. I do not foresee that being part of this rezoning petition or required by CDOT based on our proposed trip generation, as well as the distance to the existing stoplight to the north at Brown, Greer, and Arrowwood. Yes, so Sonny, a grading plan is not generally performed at this point, but yes, should this project be approved, the rezoning be approved, yes, then we will get into the detailed levels of grading of utilities, water and sewer, stormwater calculations, things like that. And at that point, yes, it would become public record when we submit to the city, and that would be shared and reviewed.
Okay, looks like a pause in the chat question. So I'm going to
The
take
floor
the
is yours,
opportunity.
Javier.
Thank you, Nolan. Thanks, everyone. I don't know, Sonny or Jonathan, are you guys neighbors to this development? And you can answer the chat if so.
Yeah, in our case, well, my in-laws are the ones who live in Sandy Porter Road. So like we'll have the townhomes right in front.
Oh, so your family lives across the street from this?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
How about Sonny? Sonny says yes. Where are you at, Sonny, in relation to the development?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm located on Steel Chase at the very, very far back corner
Mm.
of the
That cul-de-sac?
development. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. No wonder you're asking all the questions about that. Okay. You guys, the reason I ask is that I'm with SCRA, Steel Creek Residents Association. We've had the pleasure of having Nolan and Drox present to us on 2 occasions, and so we've given them a lot of input. We saw some good response to the comments that we had. So I just want to be fully transparent with you there. The question I would like to ask here, guys, is, confirm again that these are intended to be for sale units, right?
They are.
Okay, great. And Justin McDonald, he's one of the Steel Creek Residents Association board members, and he's also a neighbor with you guys. He's been keeping a close eye on this and giving good feedback. He did send he was able to download the site plan, so I got an early peek, and he was asking me if I could do. He couldn't make it today, so he was asking if I could ask the question of the sublot lines. He says weren't clearly weren't on the drawing, so he had a concern that there was still the potential for it to be for rental. Is his experience with that?
Sure. So let me back up. So on rezoning plans, some firms show the sublot lines. We don't on rezoning plans. We do have them added in as a layer in AutoCAD and Civil 3D, but we turn those off because it's cleaner to look at, and especially with a rendering as well, so that you don't see those lines. But if it's preferred that we add them in, we can do that. But no, the intent is for these to be for sale units, sublotted. But again, theoretically, they could be for sale and not sublotted, through some different avenues as well.
All right. Now that I'm fine with that, Nolan, and that's good to know. I personally, he works in your business, so I know he has certain, I guess, customary things to look for. This is something I wouldn't have picked up on, but I appreciate that explanation there. So that layer was not being shown here. Good. All
That's
right.
right. Yeah, we have accounted for it in this design to ensure that we can meet all of the minimum setback requirements, the minimum lot areas, and things of that nature, should this be approved and transition into land development.
Right. Perfect.
Yeah, and Javier, like in my case, one of the concerns, because my in-laws live here, and literally my wife and I live a mile from here too. So we're neighbors, and really the concern becomes, over the past, what, 2 years, 3 years, there's been added with these new developments, probably about 1,000 units between apartment complexes and residencies, and in a mile driving distance, give or take. So that obviously puts pressure in the school system, puts pressure in safety. Because, like, for example, now in our neighborhood, there's been car break-ins and things like that, and that's just come with the density. Um, so those are, traffic. We have a lot of schools around, so especially when the kids are coming in and out, that traffic becomes bad. And now adding, with this development and one down the road, 200, 400 more houses, that's certainly a concern.
Yep. Yeah, certainly from the safety standpoint, Jonathan. Yeah, we that's why I'm also reiterating and reconfirming here that the intent is for sale. So, we understand the balance of growth and what type of growth, and we've seen a lot of of rentals in Steel Creek come. So we're really we're pleased to see the for sale, and a product that would be considered maybe a starter, right, to allow that that new generation to take root. But yep, growth is what we're always paying attention to. And I'll plug SCRA, come join us.
Sonny's asked a few more questions, Javier. So
Okay.
if you don't mind, I'm going to
Yes,
jump
please.
through those really quick. So what type of tall fencing or wall will be provided between the development and existing properties, ensuring privacy and safety? Will a tall privacy fence be considered? Yes, so as part of that Class C landscape yard that we have to provide along this eastern property line abutting Sunny where you live, in these existing single-family detached homes, there will be a minimum of a 6-foot privacy wall. Yes. How far will the townhomes be set back from existing property lines to ensure privacy? So code requires for green area, which is tree save, a minimum width of 30 feet. So there's a minimum width of 30 feet of tree save here, plus an additional roughly 10 feet of tree save open space area. So these units are approximately 40 feet from property lines. And then you're several hundred feet in this larger green area space. What measures will be taken to prevent unwanted visitors from accessing neighboring yards? So there will be a fence installed from this back property line, abutting it's not part of the activity center. This is part of I believe it's the Catawba Land Conservancy owns this large parcel. So from that property line, spanning the entirety of the development, there will be a 6-foot wall along that property line, which will help prevent the unwanted visitors from accessing any neighboring yards. But we'll also have, a vast internal network of sidewalks. Each of these units will have a minimum 4-foot sidewalk from the front door down to the public right-of-way, creating a nice walkable community, as well as having the amenity area to make sure this is a good-looking, nice development.
Hey, Graham, have you guys given any more consideration to that, the request that Jeannie Fraser had about the owner occupancy rider for a period of time?
So we are going to provide a draft of a rider to our potential partner. However, what they choose to do with that draft is up to them, and we cannot commit that they will use it or not, but we will express to them the concern of the community, and some of these may be turning into rentals down the road. But I want to say again, I've said this on previous meetings that we've had, whether it's us building the homes or a partner or us and a partner, we don't want renters in here any more than you and the community do, because that takes away from the community that we're building as well. So that being said, we still can't really enforce a rental rider to a new community as required by, like, it's not something we can get through the zoning approval process with the city. That's not something that will be restricted to the development. So it's like I mean, it's really just a commitment from us in that we have shared interests for both our community that we're investing a lot of time and money into, and your community that's surrounding it. And I also, it's tough to limit a new owner of the community to not allow them to rent their place because they may get transferred to Raleigh for their job. And it's tough for me, given I've had this happen to myself, to say to them that you can't rent your place out, even though you've been asked to move your family to another part of North Carolina for a job to be closer to family. And so it's just tough. Like I said, we will provide a draft document to our partner, or it'll be to us, but it's tough for us to put that restriction over 194 units. Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah.
But again, it's a community that will be for sale. We've been approached by several for rent groups, and we are not entertaining any conversations with them. So hopefully that makes you feel better about where we're coming from, our interest in the community, and a shared perspective on what we want the community to be like. We want them to be owners, not renters.
Okay, good. Glad to hear that.
All right, we've got another question in our chat from Sunny. How will utilities, water, sewer, and electric be impacted by the new development? Will they be upgraded to meet the increased demand? So yes, there is existing infrastructure, water and sewer and electric in the area to serve the site. The developer would have to run utility extensions to serve this development at their cost. There would be several submittals. There would be donated projects as well as private utilities. We have to have private utilities running along these residential alleys, which are private alleys. But then there will also be public utilities that are donated to the city, along with the proposed public rights of way, which are these main roads with the 2 driveway connections, and then the proposed public road that is stubbing, planned north. But yes, there is sufficient capacity, utility-wise, to serve this. Okay. How will the developer keep the community informed about the project's progress, design, i.e. perimeter fence, etc., considerations impacting the neighborhood, and address any concerns? So the development is heavily regulated, both in its physical design and during the construction process, whether that be during grading, putting up erosion control fences and ensuring they are well maintained, that there's no blowouts and dirt running off site. Signs have to be posted on site with permit numbers, permit boxes, and contact information throughout the life of the development. So contact information will be readily available. If our firm helps once this potential rezoning is approved as part of the land development, if we were to serve as the civil engineers of record, you're more than welcome to contact me in the future. I'm happy to answer any questions throughout the process. What is the expected timeline for construction, excuse me, and what disruptions can we expect during the process? Are there any plans for future phases of development or expansion? So I'll kind of start with the latter. Are there any plans for future phases of development? So that this would be one project, phasing wise, that where this is being remnant parcels, they're existing similar parcels surrounded by development. There's nowhere for this project to expand further. So no, there would not be an initial phase or excuse me, an additional phase or expansion. Timeline for construction. So as I mentioned, we're best case scenario looking at a potential November 18th rezoning approval. So once the rezoning approval is in place, we would transition to land development. Now, those land development documents, the permitting documents, would be reviewed by the city, by the state. Those could take potentially 12 months to receive an approval. So, we may not be looking at construction taking place until potentially the end of 2025, potentially early 2026. Disruption. Sorry, I missed that. So with the traffic improvements, we'll have to submit traffic plans for review by the city and very likely NCDOT as well, because we're going to be extending, if you can see my mouse on the western side, extending that median as well as creating a left turn lane. So we'll have to submit traffic plans for those improvements for approval.
Hey, Nolan, so right now, the tree save that you've got, as we're looking at the drawing, it would be, uh, all along that cul-de-sac where Sonny's living.
Correct.
Are there existing trees right now that you would leave in place, or are those all replanted?
So all existing trees within the proposed green area will be
Mhm.
retained. And we would also be installing additional plantings as part of that Class C landscape yard with the fence. But yes, during construction, a tree protection plan and fence would be installed to ensure those trees are safe and they are retained.
Okay, good. And are you just kind of leaving the amenity area just up to later development at this point?
Ye- That's correct. So we've added some conditional language into the plan. I mean, let me back up. Since it is identified here on the plan, it will have to be an amenity area. The townhomes could not be developed there. We have, through conditional language, committed to, potentially a myriad of uses, whether that is a clubhouse, a garden area. So we've given a little bit of flexibility of what that could look like, but it will have to be an amenity area.
Yep. Okay.
I know that was important at our first community meeting and meeting with the SCRA that we could identify a nice large proposed amenity area.
Has there been any other feedback from city planning, since you last met with us that you want to share? Or
There has not been. So we
Okay.
received comments based on that previous plan,
Mhm.
more dense plan that also had units right up along the frontage. So as part of the redesign and what you're seeing on the screen currently, we took those comments into account and addressed them as part of the redesign, such as, providing an amenity space. Um, Planning staff actually asked us if we would also look at a larger front setback. So by right, a 24-foot setback would be required from the future back of curb along Sandy Porter Road. We've increased that to a minimum of 30 feet, and these units are actually drawn farther than 30 feet as you move farther south, tapering much farther behind the proposed stormwater control measure. So we really pulled the units back away from the frontage.
Mhm.
We think that's going to get, one, be safer, not have a monolithic feel along Sandy Porter Road, and really provide a better aesthetic pulling those away from that frontage. All right, got another question from Sunny. When the plans are under design or close to being finalized, will the community be able to see those plans, such as grading, site work, utilities, etc., before construction starts? And who can we contact to obtain those plans? So, Sonny, yes, as part of the submittals, once we submitted construction documents to the city, those become public record. And as part of a potential approval of construction documents, the city would stamp all of those. And again, they would be available online through the city's development portal, which is Acela. So they would be available for review. To obtain those, you could contact a planning staff member, someone in engineering. Um, there's a myriad of folks who could help you find those plans while they're in review and approved.
Well, guys, I've got nothing further.
Well, Javier, we appreciate you joining us this evening. I'll hang around just another minute or two and see if Sunny has any additional questions, typing those into the chat. Jonathan, if you have any questions, feel free to use the chat box or come off mute. We're happy to answer any questions that anyone has this evening.
Yeah, actually, as part of the widening in Sandy Porter, currently there is a median that, at least in our case, is really helpful, especially in traffic when we were trying to get out. Is that something that will be kept, that you know about, once the roads widen, or is that going to be like a concrete type median
Sure. So
that will
can you,
separate
can you,
both lanes?
can you see my mouse on the
Yeah.
screen? Okay, so there's this existing concrete median at the northern end of the site.
Uh-huh.
As a condition of approval, CDOT is requiring that we extend this concrete median south of our proposed driveway, and that is to prevent left turns out of the development. So that concrete median will remain in place and be extended. And then at our southern end, at this entrance, we will be installing a left turn lane. So that will help through traffic continue moving, and we'll have to provide the necessary tapers and storage links as part of that process.
So then, really, other than, you know, just adding the lanes in and out and extending that median, there's no further modifications in sight. That's
We'll, we'll
what
be
I'm.
There will be some road widening, relocating the curb line to what's known as the future back of curb, which is dictated by the Charlotte
Yeah.
street map. So we'll be widening the road. I know there have been several iterations of plans for the widening of Sandy Porter Road and some improvements farther south. As part of this development, we would be dedicating right of way, moving the curb that would align with those plans.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Thank you for joining us. Not seeing anything additional in the chat box. So if that's the case and there are no further questions this evening, here's my contact information. If you have any questions after this meeting, feel free to send me an email at ngroce@urbandesignpartners.com, or feel free to call me. I'm happy to chat with you about this proposed rezoning petition. You can reach me at 704-334-3303. So with that being said, I'll thank everyone again for attending this community meeting, taking time out of your evenings to join us and hear about our proposal. I hope everyone has a great rest of their evening and enjoy your weeks and enjoy your weekends.
Good job, Nolan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Nolan.
Roger.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good evening.
Good night.
You too.